Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ian, and today I would like to take you through the 1994 novel by Ryu Murakami, Piercing. Now, this is the third novel I've read by Murakami. I've also read In the Miso Soup and Audition, and I enjoyed them both very much. So I was keen to get into this one. I read this about 3 weeks ago, so it's quite fresh in my mind. As usual, I don't want to put too many spoilers in, but I'll take you through some of the plot and some of the themes in it and my feelings on the novel as a whole and whether I would recommend this. Now, the first thing to say about this novel is that the premise is quite a shocking one, even for myself. We are introduced to Kawashima. In the middle of the night, he is standing over the cot of his newborn baby, his wife, in bed in the same room, and he's debating or trying to talk himself out of stabbing his own baby with an ice pick. Now, that is a very shocking premise, and he's been doing this over a few nights, stood in the middle of the night fighting with his own demons as if he's got the good and evil on the shoulders, trying to talk himself out of it and also wondering where this urge is coming from. And I would say the first few chapters of this novel are very, very exciting. We go through a lot of details of Kawashima, the relationship with his wife, which seems almost idyllic. She has a baking company that she teaches baking at home, and he's got a good job. Everything's kind of perfect except for this urge that he seems to be having. So, as I say, the first few chapters are absolutely, I flew through them lightning quick, very, very exciting. In fact, I read another review of the novel who posited the idea that the climax of this novel is at the start. And I tend to agree, whereas in Audition, it's at the very end. And in the Miso Soup, there's a climactic scene, I would argue, the scene with Frank in the bar is about midway through the novel. So, but whether that's intentional from Murakami, who knows? So, Kawashima has this urge, and it's not just necessarily an urge to stab his own baby with an ice pick, it's to stab someone with an ice pick. So we go through a bit of his history, and he was abused as a child, he's been in orphanages, his mother was very, very abusive and also was in an abusive relationship. He reveals that in one of those relationships, he did stab someone with an ice pick, although he was never caught for it. The police were never involved. So we have this sort of backdrop. So he's attempting to deal with whatever demons there are by actually enacting his urge of stabbing someone with an ice pick. And he decides on finding a prostitute to do so. He takes some time off work and sets about making a plan, an in-depth plan. He writes lots of notes in a book on how to do it, how to get away with it, being the primary cause. And throughout this process, there's also elements of him hallucinating, of another voice in his head that is telling him that it seems like it's the evil side of him, if you like. That I think there's one scene where, I don't know if he's picking up nappies, something like that, some kind of sanitary product. And that voice is urging him to go through with it. So he sets about his plan. And this is where the novel slows down a little bit. And we're introduced to another character, Chiaki, and she's a prostitute. And naturally, it's quite obvious that these two are going to meet. Now, she is also a very damaged lady, a very abusive upbringing from her father. And she also has issues with drugs as well. So eventually, Kawashima speaks to an agency that Chiaki works for, and they set about a meeting in a hotel room. And the meeting doesn't go quite as planned. Effectively, Chiaki has some kind of breakdown. She locks herself in the bathroom and is self-harming. So Kawashima's wondering what to do. And I'll probably leave the plot there because there's one very long chapter in the book which is all about their time together and what happens. And I don't want to spoil the ending. The ending is a little ambiguous. It's almost as if we're being asked whether these two people are very similar and therefore will get along, or perhaps even have a relationship. Perhaps he won't go through with the ice pick, or perhaps they're too similar that they're going to be like oil and water. It's a very, very interesting chapter. As I say, it's a lot longer and the pace is a little slower. And Yeah, that was a bit of a downfall of the book, that I felt that it climaxed very early and was very, very exciting, and then it slows down. But that's not to say it's not worth persevering with it. So, what are the themes in this novel? There's all sorts. There's abuse, self-harm. There's also that sort of racking of good and evil in each person. I think perhaps that's just my own interpretation, that we're all capable of good, all capable of evil. But yeah, I thought this was very, very decent. Not quite as good as In the Miso Soup or Audition, but definitely worth reading if you read either of those two and enjoyed them. So I would give Piercing a 6.5 out of 10. Very much enjoyed it, but let me know what you thought. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.